The Liberal government just released our 2025 budget, and at first glance, well, it looks impressive. But it's far from. Welcome to Wake Up Canada News. I'm Brad Wilder. This next article was researched and written by one of our Wake Up Canada News contributing reporters. The Libs and NDP coalition just released the 2025 budget, and at first glance, it looks impressive. Big numbers, shiny announcements, promises of growth, infrastructure, and defense. They want Canadians to believe this is a plan for the future and a blueprint for prosperity. But if you dig deeper, the real story is hidden in the details. The programs Canadians rely on every day are being squeezed dry, while areas that have little impact on ordinary people are growing. The programs that everyday Canadians use and depend on, like immigration services, veteran support, local grants, and social programs, are barely going to scrape by in the coming years. They are being starved quietly, while billions are directed to defense, big corporations, and programs most Canadians will never directly interact with. Imagine waiting years for a permit, struggling to get access to local grants, or seeing your community programs slowed down, and billions flow into big tech and insiders' hands. That's what this budget does. The government is cutting the programs Canadians need and expanding their power and control. Procurement is being centralized and automated. Small businesses and local contractors who used to compete for government work could be pushed aside in favor of larger firms labeled more efficient. That's money used to support local jobs and communities quietly redirected to bigger companies with no real connection to Canadians' everyday lives. Defense alone is getting over $30 billion over the next 4 years. Fighter jets, cyber infrastructure, upgraded bases, and domestic manufacturing contracts. That's massive spending in areas Canadians rarely ever touch or see, while programs that affect daily life continue to struggle for funds. The budget also contains hidden provisions for trade and tariff risks that most Canadians won't notice. If tariffs hit Canadian exports, steel, aluminum, agriculture products, the government has money set aside to respond, to protect certain industries. If tariffs never materialize, the money just sits quietly in the background, unseen and unspent. It's essentially a contingency fund, but one that gives government power to control a response to global trade events without consulting Canadians or even making it visible. Essentially, hiding their lack of trade deals until a more appropriate time. Meanwhile, the programs people actually depend on every day continue to receive only minimal growth or face huge cuts. In effect, this is another example of government funneling resources away from everyday needs towards areas that provide flexibility or advantage to the elite or to big business. Canadians won't see it in the headlines, but it's there in the footnotes, quietly shaping priorities. Energy policy is also quietly shifting. The cap on oil and gas emissions could be removed if alternatives like carbon capture are considered sufficient. While government promotes clean energy publicity, the main beneficiaries are large energy companies. Landowners and leaseholders in energy-producing regions could be affected, but the average Canadian won't hear about these impacts either. Even benefits are being automated. Low-income Canadians will automatically receive credits and payments. It sounds helpful, and it is, but it also centralizes control over money and decisions, leaving less room for human oversight. Footnotes and fine print reveal even more about what's happening. Time-limited programs with sunset clauses that may end unless renewed. Departmental staff cuts could slow processing of permits or weaken enforcement of property and regulatory rules. Programs that appear generous on paper are often funded by cuts to programs we need every day. The government is cutting the services Canadians rely on and growing the ones they don't. Operational versus capital spending is now separated. Long-term projects, roads, transit, infrastructure often involve land, property, and rights of way. Statutory spending is increasing relative to voted spending. giving Parliament less control over these decisions. Meanwhile, programs that touch Canadians' daily lives are quietly shrinking, leaving ordinary citizens to bear the consequences. Budget 2025 is more than just numbers. It's about control, influence, and a quiet reshaping of how Canadians interact with their government, their property, and their economic rights. Families, local businesses, and communities may not notice today, but the effects will be felt over the next few years. The programs Canadians rely on every single day are being cut or slowed, while programs that don't affect ordinary lives are growing. The headlines won't tell you this, the footnotes will. The line items will. And if you pay attention, you'll see that this budget is steering the country to homelessness, poverty, and starvation. Mark Carney's budget will destroy the Canadian economy while making himself and his cronies rich. Thanks for watching Wake Up Canada News. Please like, share, and follow us on any of your favorite socials, including Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and our website at wakeupcanadanews.com. Till next time, remember you're the voice, and it's really time to make it count. I'm Brad Wilder. I'll see you soon.